Welcome back. My name is Nelson Bauer. I'm the Deputy Fire Marshal in Orange Beach, Alabama. And this week I want to talk about tort liability. Tort liability is an interesting topic because it's something that we as inspectors really do not think about a lot, but we should. So I looked in a ICC legal module book, kind of came up to speed on it because I've seen recent news stories related to this, but haven't really tied the two together. There was a case actually specifically in New Jersey, which actually came out to work in the inspector's favor once it reached the Supreme Court. But an inspector, electrical inspector, was sued personally after a fatality, a fire fatality, where 4 were killed, and the result of the fire was faulty wiring. So they went after him, and thankfully the Supreme Court really protected him. And this is what the Supreme Court said. They said that public entities will be exposed to a flood of tort claims from which the legislature intended to insulate them if the court does not reverse the appellate division's decision in this case. But what if that decision wasn't reversed? That's what I want to talk about, how we as inspectors can better protect ourselves. Hope you enjoy.
Building and fire officials, and really all Americans, have in recent years become more and more afraid of tort liability. Very broadly defined, a tort is a civil wrong, other than a breach of contract for which the court will force the wrongdoer to pay damages. A person who is at fault and causes the damage or injury bears the liability of tort. An everyday occurrence, such as judicial enforcement of the code, can give rise to lawsuits for malicious prosecution, false imprisonment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Familiarity with these torts should help building officials and fire officials alike avoid committing them and therefore alleviate any fears of being sued. Will your employer provide a defense counsel and indemnify if a judgment is obtained? In most cases, the government will provide defense counsel and will indemnify the employee if a judgment is obtained by the injured party. To be safe, however, the building official or fire official should check an employment contract he or she may have signed. Indemnification does not give the building and fire official free rein to commit tortious conduct. In many situations, if the government determines that the action taken by the building or fire official is not only legally inappropriate, but also in violation of the government's rules and regulations, it may refuse to represent or indemnify the official. Building officials might want to look at their employment contracts to determine whether the language discussing indemnification has any express qualifications or limitations. A building or a fire official is a person, whereas a municipality is a corporation. Because these are two separate entities, each may be sued. This means, as we've talked about, that you could be sued personally. We also talked that typically governments will cover defense counsel and indemnification, but they possibly could not also. And also if you're sued personally, there could be overage. That's why I feel like personal liability insurance is vital. So what do you think? Does the threat of being sued scare you? For me it does, especially considering that I'm fulfilling my obligations for my employer. So being sued personally for that does scare me. That's why I want to make sure that I look at the employment contracts to determine whether the language discussing indemnification has any express qualifications or limitations. Also, I want to make sure that I look to see if there's any personal liability insurance that I could gain to better help.